This video, I'm going to talk about and demonstrate how to mix our earth palette. This is the earth palette, and the combination of colors that are possible with our three earth colors. This palette goes by many different names. Sometimes they call it the Riley palette, the dead palette, because the color is very subdued. Also the earth palette, because the pigments are based on clays, different colored clays. Yellow ochre is one type of clay. Red ochre is another type of clay. The red ochre we're using is iron oxide, so it's like a type of rust. And our blue is actually ivory black. Some palettes they use blue black, which is made by some companies. But I prefer to keep it really basic and use ivory black, which is bone black. And I believe that the actual appropriate name for this is the Apelles palette. Apelles was a painter from ancient Greece, and there's some texts by some historians, I believe Pliny or Pliny. He wrote about Apelles, and they wrote about the pigments that he would use, and it's pretty much it's very much related to this. These are very simple colors, very simple pigments that have been available to artists for centuries, maybe even thousands and thousands of years. We go back to Apelles, back to ancient Greece, but these are also the pigments that artists used in. You could even make the case, if you look at the cave paintings, this is what they were using: a yellow color which came from a type of yellow earth, from a type of clay. The red, again another type of clay. Black, made from charred animal bones, and white, a type of another type of white clay that was used. So it's a very simple palette, and it's a good way to transition. We've been painting in the class with our monochromatic Versailles, and so to ease slowly into the use of color, we're gonna mix these colors. The chroma, the intensity is very subdued, so I think they're easier to handle. And because they're all different types of browns, they already have a harmony to them. So any painting that you use with these three simple colors will be more harmonious. The next assignment, we're gonna do a master copy of a still life painting by either Chardin or Peter Claes. These were painters from the 16th, 17th century that were still using a lot of earth colors. Maybe they could punch up the blue with another color, with another type of mineral, and just to show you the contrast, this is the earth palette, and then the next palette that we're gonna use. See, this is the fully chromatic palette. This is, of course, here we're using synthetic colors. This is the type of colors that became available during the Impressionists. Cadmiums, phthalos, all those colors. Look at this, what difference it makes. So I think this is harder for the beginner to master. So I like to go from value to dead palette, earth palette, or Apelles palette, and then to the fully chromatic palette like this. So you should have this ready. I mentioned this in a previous video, because we're gonna fill it in here. The colors that we mix, we're gonna fill them in here. You should already have this done. And so I'll start mixing, and just to demonstrate how to mix these. I'm only gonna mix you know, the outer border here. You know, like I'll combine blue and yellow, make green, yellow, green, blue, green. I'll make violet, blue, violet, red, violet, orange, yellow, orange, red, orange. And then the other ones, you just keep adding more and more white. So I'll mix all samples of all these, and then I might make a time-lapse video where I make these. There's really no exact amount of white or measurement that I'm gonna give you. It's just, you just have to have a difference between each one as they get brighter and brighter as they approach the center. And it's a very abundant variety of colors that we have here. So I'll start mixing, and so you need, for this assignment, of course, you need your palette. I have the camera here. I've got some paint thinner. I've got brushes. You need some palette knives. You need some rags. I've got these dirty rags. You need palette. The colors that I'll be using is, you know, yellow ochre, ivory black, and red ochre, and titanium white. I've got different brands, you know, Old Holland and Sennelier. I had a student, he gifted me these colors. These are pretty good brand. So I'll start mixing. The colors. And I'll start, you know, make sure that you've got your color wheel label, like yellow, and then blue and red. So I'm gonna put my blue, which is, you know, I mentioned it's ivory black, but you want to think of it as blue. My yellow ochre, and you'll see what happens when you mix yellow ochre and black. I'm sure you never thought that was possible to get these types of colors from black and yellow ochre. So I've got there my triad. The one thing that I remember hearing this from a professor years ago. Well, I don't know if it was a professor or I read it somewhere. Probably I read it. But they was talking about how if you were a religious, or if you were a painter painting a religious subject in the medieval period, if you were being commissioned by the church, and you were painting a figure, maybe you were painting a you know, Adam, or Adam and Eve. The fact that you were making a painting of a person, of a human being, with clay colors, you know, colors that are based on clays, which are types of earth. And of course, it's types of earth that are mixed with linseed oil, so it becomes like mud. And so this kind of combination of color and of their origins of being earth, it resembled the biblical story of Adam being created out of dirt or out of mud. So I thought that was interesting. So here, so I'm mixing yellow ochre and black. I think here this might need a little bit more yellow. So the goal is to make a green. Again, the green that you're making is not gonna be the green of the that fully chromatic palette. This looks a little bit green, but it needs more yellow ochre. So I'm gonna take this, put the yellow ochre in here. And see there, you start to see that green come about. Again, it's not gonna be the color of those fresh green leaves you see in the springtime. But within this palette that we're using, this will be our green. I think it needs a bit, it needs more yellow. I think there's looking more green. See there, that's the green I was looking to get out of this. And in reality, it looks a lot like raw umber. But again, we're thinking this is blue, so if that is blue, that is gonna be our green. I'm gonna need more yellow ochre. I still want to, push this more towards green. I think I can use more yellow ochre. That black, that ivory black, was very strong. I think okay, so there you go. This will be green. Everything is relative. So this is, for the sake of this palette, that will be our green. Again, it's hard to, with the glare and so on, such things, it might be hard to see. But let me show you the finished. See, that's that green. Then I'll make yellow green and blue green. So it's a type of, I tell students when I'm doing this in class, that it looks very much like type of green after an avocado has gone bad. I think this looks more, now that I'm thinking back to my sample, this looks very much like blue green. So I'm gonna push this even more towards the yellow. So line it up a bit here. This is an excellent brand of paint. I've never bought it. I've always seen it available. But the reviews of this color, and right off the bat, I noticed that the ivory black was very strong. I'm liking this. So I got blue, green, and I'm gonna make yellow green. I'm gonna take all of this yellow and just take a little bit of this, make yellow green, and I'll compare it to my completed one. I'll bring it over in a little bit. So I'm gonna put it here for a little in the meantime. And we'll paint it, we'll paint all those values in their appropriate section, but these black lines, I added them weeks after this had dried with a Sharpie. So don't think I did those straight lines with ivory black. So let me see how this looks. I don't know if this looks green enough, but it's see, this is, I think this here, see, here looks too yellow. See, looks too green there. Again, the glare that is inherent in oil paints. I'm gonna take, I think it could still be more green. So I'm making the secondary colors here. And so there, this will be my yellow green. With my yellow green. Give this a mix here. You see? That will be my green. My blue green. Now this, when I mix these, I used a different type of brand for the yellow. So it was a lighter yellow. See, this yellow ochre is a little bit darker than the one I had used, but that'll work. That'll be my mixtures that will go on here. So now I'll make my secondary color. I'll make orange. Now keep in mind, this color is very strong, so be very careful with it because it will overpower. Let's see what happens here. I'm trying to make an orange. And see, now we got orange here. Now this looks more like red orange. But see, when this mixed, it made, by comparison, it made it look more green. Because before I mixed it, there was nothing to compare it to, but now we do. So we got red. This is red, orange, orange, yellow. So I think this is a good red, orange. I'm gonna put a little bit of this here. So we made actually a tertiary color, and now we'll try and make orange, which is the secondary color. And this is more like orange. See, looks too bright, kind of blends in, looks too dark on top of that. So I'll move some of this, just a little, maybe even less, to make the yellow orange. And see, I have here some green. And when I put it over the red, it looks more green because that's the complement. So when you see those paintings of those centuries, 1600s, 1500s, 1700s. The artist had to really manipulate these colors to make them look strong. And they would do this by, putting this against this so that they would look even more vibrant. So let me mix. I was mixing my yellow orange. See, this is my yellow orange. See? Looks right, looks too dark, right, too light, way too light. So this is our in my palette knife. And so now I need to make my violets, or my purples. So you make purple with blue and red. Again, here let's be very careful with our red ochre. And I'm also going to show you how to paint, how to put this in your, how to put it on your color wheel. If you're an experienced painter, there's nothing to it, but it, just the beginner has a lot of issues. They're, intimidated by the medium. So I'm gonna put some of this, maybe a little bit more, because I was surprised how strong this iris black was from this brand, and it's still pretty strong. It seems to overpower the red ochre. Very strong. I'm gonna take considerably more. Now this red ochre is called this is flash ochre from the old Holland brand. Red ochre comes in many different shades. There's Indian red, Venetian red, English red. See, this might be too much like, oh no, there it is, violet. As again, this is violet within the context of the earth palette. Nothing like the full spectrum palette. This looks actually more like burnt umber. It's violet. I'm not happy with the amount. I think we need to make more. So I'm gonna put all that black in there and all of this red here to make more. Because from here we're gonna make red violet and blue violet. Blue violet is going to be very dark, and you won't really be able to tell what the color looks like, especially in very dark color combinations. When you mix a color and it's very dark in value, like you can see here, not until you add some white can you really see what it looks like. So that is. It became, nothing's still here. So I got my violet. This is the violet within the context of my earth palette. And I'm gonna mix some blue You just have to get it into your mind that this is not ivory black, that it is blue. So, you know, keep that in mind. You always, when you're painting, you want to put a little bit of white so that you can see what the color looks like. And also white, I mean, it's tricky, you know, you have to add white to add opacity to your paint, otherwise you will see through the pigment. But then you have to also watch out that your colors don't get too chalky. And that is a terrible stage to go through. I remember there was a stage when I was painting and it was frustrating. The colors were just chalk. So I think that that'll function as my blue violet. This is still within the spectrum of the burnt umbers. And this one, oh no, this one here. This looks more like burnt sienna. And again, this is a great palette also for doing portraits. These are all essentially skin tones. Once you start adding white, you'll see that more clearly. So I need to put more red. I still need to mix my red violet. Violet is a beautiful color. You know, within the full spectrum or the fully chromatic colors, it's a really beautiful area. It's my favorite area of the color wheel. So there, this should yield a nice red violet. Again, you constantly have to tell yourself, you have to believe that this is red violet. Within this palette, this is the red violet. That's red. Maybe a little bit, I'm gonna put a little bit of black, just a little bit, because it is, from this brand, seems to be very strong. I think this is good. This is my red violet. Now these look a little bit brighter because colors, after they dry, they lighten up. Right now, when they're wet, the wetness makes them look darker. So there you have it. You know, I'll paint a few of them in, just to show you how to go about it. So lay this one on top here. See if I can see it on the camera. I can't see it too good here. So you want to have a good amount of paint when you start doing this. You know, the beginning student, they'll, you know, just dip a little bit into the paint and then scrub and keep scrubbing. But it's actually it's better to scoop out a good amount. So this is my green, right? So if you scoop out a good amount, it's easier to move and to stay within the boundaries. So don't be afraid of using a good amount of paint. So I'm able to manipulate it better because I have a good amount of paint on there. See? I'm not adding any paint thinner to this or any medium. But because I have paint. And look how it looks, how dark it looks. Because everything is white. Everything surrounding it is white. Not until you put in the other colors around it and put the background will you be able to see it better. That's also why this looks a lot darker than that, you know, because here it's surrounded by white. There it is lighter than the background color. See, so you see that? So that's green. My brush, and I'll dip into the yellow green. And see, don't be afraid of putting a good amount of paint on here. And I'm using a round brush. It's my favorite brushes to use because they come to a fine point. So that is my yellow green. And I'm gonna get this is pure yellow ochre. And you see that it's, if you can see the letters underneath, we're not adding enough paint. So I wanted to show this because there's always that, like I said, the beginner has issues in knowing how much paint to use. And also this way I can do a time lapse that I will attach to this here, to this video, so that it's I'll go back over this and fix it with more paint. So that's how it goes. I'll do a few more. I mean, those are the combinations, right? Yellow ochre, yellow orange, orange, red orange, red, red violet, violet, blue green, and green. And I'm just gonna put them in the right place. I'm on one of them. I'll go white, adding more and more white. And then the rest I'll do a fast video, a time lapse. So I'm gonna get my blue green. Fill it in. And see, it's better to go in with a good amount of paint because then you only have to do one layer of color. Otherwise you have to give it another another layer, and it's a very simple color mixing exercise. You want to do it quickly, spend one afternoon on this, and then get started on our master copy. Blue, that is blue-green. Remember, constantly clean your brushes. Now my blue, and I gotta believe the lie. Tell yourself this is blue. And you'll see it when I put white into this. Now this is pure ivory black. It has no raw umber. For our grisaille, we've been mixing it with raw umber. And you'll be surprised how blue it looks when you add white to it without the addition of the raw umber. So this palette, manipulating it to its fullest, you can make, by putting warm colors against cool colors, you will be able to get the most out of it. But yeah, painting is not something you'll pick up in one semester. It takes years. I'm still trying to master this. Like I tell my students in the videos, I've been painting probably longer than most of them have been alive. At the time that I'm making this video, I'm at 47. And I started painting in oils, been drawing all my life. But I've been painting in oils since I was 15, trying to paint in oils since I was 15. But did not really commit to them until I was at the university when I was like 19. That was back in 1993. So there we go. Let me see how long the video is already. Yeah, I'll pick one of these. I'll pick this one and make it brighter, and then I'll finish it off as a time lapse. But you know what? I think it's better if let me on second thought, let me go in and fill them all in. I think it's just better for purpose of instruction. Cause I plan to use these videos, next semester as well. So this is yellow ochre with red ochre to make yellow orange. Accidentally dipped to the pure yellow ochre. These are very similar, you see, like those, here they are very similar, but we will add variety when we start adding white. There has to be a contrast. Right now there's a slight contrast. It's a little darker. So yellow ochre, and then which is the yellow, then yellow orange. Again, look at, because I have a good amount of paint on there, I can mop it around. Something that you can do if you're just have a little bit of paint. So you got orange. Red, orange. And then we'll start making the tints. A tint is a color plus white. And a tone is a color plus black. Now the red. The red mix. My red here is mixed with some black. This is our red oxide. Very opaque. Also, it's very strong in opacity and also in chroma. One day, a couple of 2-3 years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. at the National Gallery, and of course I gravitate towards the Renaissance Baroque section, and I spent my whole day there. Pretty much I was there for like a week, and I would just go to the National Gallery. It's a beautiful collection of paintings. So I would just so the first day I pretty much spent my whole day looking at that time period, looking at Rubens, Rembrandt, amazing, beautiful paintings. And they're all done with these colors. And so I'm wandering around, and I guess I'm close to the end of that section, and I step out and I walk into this other gallery, and it was the impression or the post-impressionist section. So I went from, I jumped centuries in painting. And I was looking at a Cezanne, and of course Cezanne painted when there were synthetic colors. And it was just like kind of blinding to see such intense colors after spending most of the day looking at just different browns. It's pretty interesting that if you and you will see, you guys will see this in the class. We've been painting with grays, and now that we have some color, we'll be almost blinded by this color. And then when we jump into the fully chromatic colors, you will almost not believe your eyes. Like, when you see the cadmium yellow, it's no brighter color than the cadmiums. So this is red violet. I almost kind of lost track there. Talking about my trip to DC. This is my violet. It's almost black. You know, when you finish this with a white background, take a picture. And then when you paint, well, some of you might have already painted the background gray. And then take another picture after you paint the background, you know, gray, and you'll see how much lighter the colors look. That's why they look so much bright, so much lighter over there. And then my blue violet. This is even darker because it's so close to the blue. But you see, once it dries, you should be able to tell the difference. Right now, as I lay it on here, it might be hard to see. This is light difference. And so to make the tints, I'm gonna start here because these are the darker ones. So look, I'll take white. See, now it looks more violet. I have to mix a good amount. Make sure this is enough to fill in that whole space. So this is see, now that's the purpose of white also here. You can see more the actual color. Otherwise it was just too dark. Now put more white. There's not a formula here as to put, you know, 2 mLs of white. The key really is that you want to see a difference in value between each one of those sections. Let me see how this looks. And that, I mean, that's how you fill this in. Just more and more white. And use plenty of paint, that way you can move it around. Take more white. This can be very relaxing. You know, the constant repetition and the order can become very relaxing. See, there's like different. I'm just gonna use all this white here to really make it bright. My last one. See how this looks. Now I need more white to look too similar. I should have cleaned my brush. It has a lot of color and that's why it's so hard to make it brighter. Yeah, that's much better. And so that's how you go about it. And more and more white, so you can see a difference between each one. And you keep doing that till you fill it up. I'm going to stop the video, and the rest I'll continue on the time lapse.